Hello and welcome to Board Game Bonkers. I'm Jay Sears, and we're going to take a look at 10 board games for non-board gamers. These are our top 10 choices, and if you're new to board gaming, looking for some inspiration, then you've come to the right place. Or perhaps you're already a board gamer, looking for some ideas for your loved ones, your partner, some family or friends, then this is a great list to take a look at. Now you won't find some usual board games that other lists recommend, such as Carcassonne, Catan, Ticket to Ride, or other games such as Splendor. That's because they've been done to death, and I don't actually enjoy those games. I think there are better picks out there and better choices for non-gamers to grit their teeth into. So with that out of the way, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. Discovered this channel for more content like this and other great reviews that we're going to do. And also please let us know in the comments down below, what were your top choices? Do you have any ideas or any new games that you've discovered that you would recommend others to check out? I'm sure lots of viewers would highly recommend some games, as well as new viewers that would like to check out new board games to try out. So we've put this list in particular order, starting from the easiest, that's our number 10, and then moving through to our number 1, which is the most complex. Now, I'm going to give you the weight rating, and don't mean by how heavy the game is, but how complex it is. 1 being extremely easy and simple, and 5 being extremely complex. Don't worry, no games are complex in this list. They're all easy to grasp, easy to get into for non-gamers. And 1 being suitable for children or those who want very simplistic, easy games with minimalistic rules. And 2 being what we start getting into medium light, still light, but start getting into a more medium type, a little bit more depth, a little bit more thinkiness and strategy, but still simple and streamlined enough to grasp for non-gamers. And this naturally would fit into what I would classify as my least favourite to my most favourite, being number 1. So this fits in really nicely in that order as well, from easiest to more complex, and to my least favourite to my most favourite. There's some games that are suitable for family in this list, and some games that are suitable only for adults. So with that out of the way, let's get to a list, starting with our number 10. Our number 10 is Micro Macro. This has a weight rating of 1.11. This is a really good, enjoyable game for the family, or perhaps a couple who are just looking for an evening bit of entertainment, a weekend or over the weekend, just to get involved in something that doesn't have a lot of rules. It's very straightforward. In this game, Micro Macro, it's a bit like Where's Wally. You'll be having a look at this map. It's a giant map you'll have on the table, and you'll be flicking over a card. There are different types of cards. So for example, you have different complexities. You have level 1 all the way through to level 5 and how difficult you want it. And you'll be flicking over a card in that particular pack, and it will tell you and give you a clue of find this building, and you'll be trying to find this building in this crime city. So there's all different types of crimes that are happening in this city. It's really small to see, so you have this small magnifier, and you'll be trying to find clues, and then going through these cards as you flip them over to find more clues that tell you what to do next and try and solve the crime. Now, as I said, there's different levels, so you can start from level 1 and work your way through to level 5. There's lots of gameplay in Micro Macro, and you have different versions. They've now got a 4th one that's coming out soon, where you can create this big giant map. I won't be doing that. I think each map is big enough as it is. This is a great introductory game, very simple and straightforward to play, so check it out. Micro Macro, and this particular one at Crime City that I played was enjoyable. Can get a little bit samey over time, but certainly worth checking out if you want a very light game and it can get the kids involved and the different family members can get involved in this. It's that straightforward, almost like Find Where's Wally. So let's move on to number 2, and that is Love Letter. Love Letter's a bit of a classic now. It's a view into classic card games. You might enjoy this, as it might be a little bit step up to some classic games, and perhaps some classic games a little bit more strategic than Love Letter. In Love Letter, you're going to be having one card in your hand. On your turn, you'll be drawing another card, and then you'll be playing a card against an opponent and trying to get them to get rid of the card that they've got in their hand. And if they get rid of the card that's in their hand and you're the only one with a card in your hand, you will get a love affection token. There's a little cube, and you're trying to get the most throughout the duration of the game. So simply pick up a card, you have two in your hand, play a card, and one card might say, for example, look at the other player's hand, or a card that says guess what the other player's got in their hand. So it's very straightforward and simple, these abilities you've got in the card, and it's a great game. You can actually get kids involved in this as well. I'll say from ages 8+, depending on how comfortable and how well they can read the cards, but they're very straightforward, the abilities, and it gives you a very good player aid. It tells you how many cards of each type are in, so you'll be able to work that out as part of your strategy. There's a little bit of luck, but it's fun, straightforward, it's fairly quick to play. You can play this, I think it goes all the way up to, 7 players. So you can actually get the whole family involved in this. It's a very straightforward, small little box, or you can have a travel version. It comes in a bag. There's a great little card game to start with. If you're not familiar with card games, it's a really good one to begin. Now let's move on to our number 3. And I didn't actually mention, what the weight of Love Letter was. It's 1.19, so very straightforward and simple gameplay. So now let's move on to our next one, and that is our number 8. So number 8 is Codenames. Now, Codenames has a weight of 1.27. It's really simple. It's a great game. So you can actually do this. Perhaps you're looking for a game with partners, or you can have a game and Codenames which duet. So you have different types of Codenames. One that is just for you and your partner, or perhaps it's someone else you're given as a gift, and it's more for a 2-player, and you have one that you work in teams. So what you're trying to do is you'll have these cards laid out, and what you'll be trying to do is guess what the tile is that the other player's giving you clues for. So the other player or team will give you a clue, and they'll say, for example, one word clue. They might say sun, and they'll 3, and that'll be followed by a number. That number is how many of those particular tiles you need to try and guess that relate to sun. So it might be there's beach there, so you think, right, you pick the beach. There might be a spade there, so you pick the spade. And if you pick what's called the assassin, then you're out of the game. That's the game over. So what you're trying to do is avoid picking the assassin. So you have this little card, and it'll tell you exactly where the assassin is. And you're trying to avoid the other player or team guessing that particular tile. It's really fascinating because you get to do it in a specific number of turns. You have these tokens, and that's time tokens that you'll be using up. So you're trying to do that as quickly as possible. And it's really tricky because sometimes you're trying to work out, right, okay, I don't want to make it too difficult, and you need to get them to think how you might think. So you think, right, okay, if I make it too difficult, they might not understand that. So I need to keep it simple. Or perhaps you're someone who wants to play with players who really understand you, and then you can give them more complex ones. It might be, I'm going to give them 4 to try and guess relating to this one word. So that's the important part. You can then give them one word and a number to how many of those tiles they can guess up to. It's really fascinating. It's quick to play. It's really fun. I played with so many different players and introduced it, and they've had a blast with it. I highly recommend Codenames. So let's move on to our number 7, and that is 7 Wonders Architects, and that's a weight rating of 1.33. There's different types of 7 Wonders. You have 7 Wonders Dual, 7 Wonders the original, and then you've got 7 Wonders Architects. 7 Wonders Architects is by far the easiest to play. It's really simple. You're simply building these architects, and on your turn you'll be taking a card either from the left opponent or the right. They have stacks of cards next to them, and you'll be taking that card, and it'll give you resources to build your wonder. So you'll be building that wonder, and it looks really cool and thematic in the table because you'll be flicking it over. It's really simple, and it'll give you points, or it might give you a small little ability or bonus. So it's really straightforward to play. You simply take a card, do what it tells you, get a resource. You need resources to build your wonders. There are different types of cards, so you can see the back of the cards in the colour, so that colour represents perhaps resources, or it gives you an ability or something else, so you know what the cards do. Very straightforward and streamlined. It's super fun. It's a great game to get kids involved in as well. I highly recommend this. It's a game I enjoy. It's quick, plays in about 20 minutes. Check it out, 7 Wonders Architects. So moving on to number 6, and that is Greedy Kingdoms. This is a card game. And it's a game for 2 players. It has a weight rating of 1.56. And what you'll be doing is you'll be battling against another player. So you have 9 cards in your hand, and you can get card stands if holding 9 cards is too much. And what you'll be doing is you'll be playing 3 cards on your turn face down. The other player will play 3 cards face down. What the other player is trying to do is trying to block your cards by matching the same type of card. And you'll be flicking those cards over, so you're revealing them simultaneously. And if the cards are not blocked, so i.e. isn't the same type of card your opponent's played in the same line, then you'll activate that card, and that card will give you resources. You can then use that card to then take those resources to spend on another card that needs resources to give you better resources. Sounds complicated, but it's actually fairly straightforward. And you have a market phase as well. You can buy cards, and certain cards give you abilities. You can upgrade your cards to better heroes. So you have these 9 heroes, and you can get more powerful cards that give you better resources. And what you're essentially trying to do is get the palaces, trying to build those palaces that require certain resources. And once you've got 2 of those palaces, then you've won the game. It's a really quick, simple card game. It is a little bit tricky for younger players, I've noticed, and certainly I played this with my daughter who was 11, and it took her a couple of times to get used to the rules, but after that she managed to grasp it. So that'll give you an idea on the complexity of this game. It's fairly straightforward, and there is a little bit, what you called was mathy. You had to think about, I need 2 resources to get this, to activate this card that's then going to give me these resources. So it can be a little bit thinky, but it is straightforward. It's super fun. I really enjoy this game. It just, for me, feels that it's a little bit short for what I like, but it's still great. I still recommend it. That is Greedy Kinder's my number 6. So let's move up the ladder to my number 5. So number 5 is the L Project. This has a weight of 1.56, really light, simple polynomial game. So what you're doing is getting these tiles. It's a bit like Tetris in a way. So if you're used to playing Tetris, you'll be fine with this. You've got these polynomial shaped pieces, and you'll be putting them into your tile. Your tile will take certain shapes. You're trying to fulfill that tile. Once you've filled it up, that will then give you points. The tile will give you a bit of a bonus. It'll give you an additional shape you can take. You can also swap shapes as well for other shapes, so maybe 2 smaller ones for a bigger one in the next step up. And you're trying to fulfill those tiles. Really simple and straightforward. Looks really good on the table because it's bright colours. It feels good. It's great quality. They've recently released a kind of deluxe version with all the upgrades. You get different types of upgrades. Super simple. Now, I'm not a fan of polynomial games, but I highly recommend this. I really enjoy this. It does exactly what it should do. It's polynomial. You're taking these shapes to try and fulfill this tile. Just fit them in. Really simple and straightforward. And it's great for kids as well and the whole family to get involved in this. Really highly recommend this. That's the L Project. Check it out. It's my number 5. So let's move on to my number 4. We're getting into, I would say, the medium light side of things now. So this is where things take a bit of a jump, and it might take a little bit of time, maybe a couple of plays to fully understand all the rules, but it's still simple enough to grasp, and that is the Chronicles of Crime, my number 4. And that is a weight rating of 2.06. Chronicles of Time. You also have Kids Chronicles. So if you have children, you can check out Kids Chronicles, which I highly recommend. It's fantastic. And I've done a review on that, my free links review on children's board games. You can check that out. But Chronicles of Crime, you'll be solving crimes, and you have different crimes, and you'll be working out, so putting cards onto a board, and you'll be scanning them into a QR code on your phone. And that brings up information about that person. I'll give you a bit of information. It might give you a bit of a hint, and then you'll be then working out, which character do I go to next? I might tell you to take out characters and put them on the board. Perhaps you discovered someone in a new building you need to go and visit. You'll be going to the scientist to discover and have a look at perhaps DNA test, to look at what's perhaps the weapon of choice. So you're trying to deduce and work out who and what was involved in that crime. And I don't want to give too much away, but there might be some connections between certain crimes as well as you go through this journey. There's lots of upgrade packs that you can acquire. The app does a really good job in scanning. It can be a little bit frustrating sometimes, and you can put an auto scan as well. And you can also, what I recommend is taking notes and writing them down in a pad as well if you prefer that way. But this is a great crime solving game. So if you like those type of games, I highly recommend Chronicles of Crime. It's not the game I have in my collection anymore. I got rid of it. I got a little bit frustrated, felt a bit samey for me, but I know a lot of people really enjoy this. And that's my number 4. And it is a good, enjoyable game to get into. And it's one the whole family can get involved in. Although I do feel that any more than 2 people, it does get a bit crowded. Maybe 3 is the maximum I would play this with. So check it out, Chronicles of Crime. Let's move on to my number 3. And this is where things get really interesting. If you like area control, you're wondering what is area control? That's controlling a certain area. If you like a bit of battle with troops, well, this might be you. It's a fantasy theme. This is Small World. It has a weight rating of 2.35. This is one of my very first games I actually played, the second very first modern game I ever played. I grasped the rules and it was really simple and straightforward. It did feel a little bit, well, it's quite complicated at first. When I first played this, and after a couple of plays, it worked fine. I've played this game more than any other board game I have in my collection, over 50 times. I love it so much because it's simple, it's streamlined. What you'll be doing is taking a faction, it's a race, and then you have these race banners. And what's great about it is you have a row of these races, you have abilities, and then you have a row of these race banner abilities, and they mix up from game to game. So you'll be shuffling them, putting them in a row. I think it's about 5 or 6 in a row, and you'll be choosing one to start with. Any you skip past, you have to leave a coin in that. Coins are worth money. You get coins by controlling areas on the board, and you can spend those coins to get a better race, an upgrade if you like. So the hard thing about this, and it's very simple and streamlined, because all you're doing is you're placing your tokens that you've got, the square tokens here, your fantasy tribe, and you're putting them on to the different areas and adjacent areas to attack and to try and acquire that area. It's very simple and straightforward. You're not rolling dice, although there is a dice that you can use that can give you an additional little bonus. So you'll be putting those tokens onto an adjacent area, and all you'll be doing is the simple rule is you need to have 2 or more than what the other area has in tokens. So if the other area has 2 tokens, you need 4 to try and conquer it. And it's that streamlined. It's that simple in the battle. If you only had 3 and you needed 4, you could roll that reinforcement die if it was your last goal, and that might give you some additional reinforcements. Really simple. And certain races give you abilities, extra coins, for example. So every area you control, you get a coin. But some abilities might say if you control the farmlands, the humans, then you get an additional coin. So that's what you're trying to do, and try and get the most coins. It plays in a few rounds. The rounds change depending on player count. There are different types of boards with different player counts, which is fantastic. There is a lot of combat, but it's quite simplistic combat. You're just trying to take over regions. It's kind of in your face, a bit of take that, but it's super fun and engaging. And I love the fact that the tricky point is trying to find out when to retire your tribe or your race. So what you're trying to do when you retire them, and ideally when you do it halfway through the game, you can then get another race to bring in on the board. So all you're doing is retiring them by flicking them over. You can't get the bonus that perhaps you could have gotten before, but they're still there and they'll still give you points for controlling that area. You just can't use them. And then you'll be acquiring another race. And that's the fantastic fun part. What race do I want? Do I want this race down the bottom? It's going to cost me 4 coins because I have to leave a coin in each one as you go down. It sounds a little complicated, but it's really simple and streamlined. And when I tell you this, it's simple. It's probably the most simplest combat game on a big board that you will play. It's simple, streamlined, it's a classic. I'd highly recommend this. If you're looking for a kind of fantasy-esque combat game, this is the one that I recommend to start with. That is Small World, my number 3. And the weight rating is a 2.35, so it isn't overly complex, still fairly straightforward to play. And you want something a little bit more complex, Small World Underground provides that. It gives a little bit more complexity. Essentially, it's the same game. It just gives you a little bit more, a couple of rule changes, and it gives you these additional tokens that you place in regions that you try and control because they give you an extra ability. And so essentially the same game, it just adds a little bit more. Moving on now to my number 2, and this is a classic, one of the best cooperative games you will ever play. That is Pandemic at a weight of 2.40. Fantastic game where you'll be working together as a team. You each have a role, and then you'll be trying to eradicate the diseases. You'll be flicking a card over every turn, and that will tell you where cubes get placed. Those cubes are the diseases. You'll have outbreaks, so if there's 3 or more cubes in a particular city, that'll outbreak to others. So you're trying to stop the outbreaks. You have an outbreak tracker. If it ever reaches the end, then you've lost. If you ever run out cards before curing at least 3 of the 4 diseases, then you've lost. And you're trying to prevent the outbreaks, trying to prevent the disease and trying to find a cure. You don't have to eradicate the disease, you just need to find a cure. So you exchange 4 cards of the same colour at a research centre, which is like a little house, and then you exchange those cards to find that cure. Once you've cured that, then you move on to the next one, or you can eradicate the disease by clearing all the cubes of that particular colour off the board. What's great about this is you're working together as a team. You're trying to figure out the most efficient way. And you're trying to do that and cure the diseases before the cards run out, because on your turn you'll be drawing up 2 cards. Those in that deck will eventually thin, and it gets tougher and tougher because you're trying to work out, right, okay, we're getting potentially diseases coming out in this area. We need to work out how we can eradicate or get rid of those diseases and then try and find a cure for the disease. It's quite a bit tricky, and you're trying to work out, it can bring in the alpha player. That's the alpha player, is the one who kind of takes over and tells people what to do. My advice is, the final rules do state, the players whose turn it is, they have the final choice in what they do. But it's a great, fantastic game. You have Pandemic Legacy, which is, I'm not going to go into what that is, but you can check them out. That's a kind of living, it's almost a live game that changes from game to game. You have different upgrades, and you have different expansions for Pandemic, which adds a lot more to the game. It's a fantastic classic. I highly recommend this. That's Pandemic, my number 2. So let's move on to my number 1. And this, for me, is one of my favourite games. If not my favourite, I just love this game so much. It's The Lords of Waterdeep. It has a weight rating of 2.45, so it's medium light. And this is a worker placement game where you'll be placing workers out on the board. And don't worry about this Dungeons and Dragons theme that they slapped on. It's really got nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons. That doesn't come alive. Just stuck that on there to try and sell more board games. It's Lords of Waterdeep is, you'll be going out in quests, so you'll be trying to acquire different people, wizards, etc. They come on that quest with you, and then complete those quests. That'll give you points. You have buildings you can build as well. Now, your opponent can use your buildings, but you get a bonus for that. And you also have intrigue cards that you collect as well that give you different things. It's really simple and straightforward. They also scale it for different player count as well, so you have less people to put out on the worker placement spots. And worker placement, simply place your worker out there and collect the resource. It's really that simple and straightforward. I really enjoy this game because it's family weight. The whole family can get involved. It's not gruesome or anything, so you don't worry about children getting involved in this. It's a fantastic game to get everyone around the table, and it's so streamlined and simple. This is, without a doubt, one of the best simplistic worker placement games you will ever play. That's Lords of the Waterdeep, my number 1. So I hope you've enjoyed that. That ends our list, our 10 top picks of board games for non-gamers. There's a game on here for everyone. We hope you enjoyed that, where you like worker placement, where you like some conflict or fantasy games with like area control or a simple card game. There's something here for everyone. We hope you've really enjoyed this. And please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. Let us know as well in the comments down below. Have we missed anything? Perhaps you've got a particular pick that you would like to recommend others, or perhaps you're new to the gaming world. How did you find this? Was this list useful? Are there any games you will go out and purchase, perhaps for yourself or for a loved one? And please give this video a like and a thumbs up as well. Please let us know if you've enjoyed this video. And that brings us to the end. I'd like to thank you so much for watching this, and until next time, take care.